Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's session on our User Experience Design program at Wilfrid Laurier University's Brantford campus. My name is Victoria, and I will be helping to moderate this session along with a lovely panel incorporating with some of our UX students and a wonderful faculty member. I just want to let you know before I turn it over to them that if you have any questions at any point throughout tonight's session, feel free to pop them in the chat box, and we will get back to you on those questions throughout our session and through a live Q&A once we are finished. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Goodrum to introduce herself and her students.
Hi, thanks, Trish. Not Trish, sorry, you're Tori. So anyway, I just want to say thanks for coming. What we're going to do tonight is I'm going to blast through some of the high-level points about the User Experience Design degree program at Laurier. And then I have these wonderful students. And did I leave anybody off? Let's see. I have to look and see. Is everybody there? Simrit, Nafisa, Vishal, Shannon. Did I get you, Shannon? No. Yes, I did. Okay. And Chantal and Mimi. Hannah, oh, let's see. Did I get, okay, yes, okay. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna talk a little bit and then we're gonna throw it over to these fabulous students, some of whom are incoming UX Student Association execs. Some are also movers and shakers behind the Decode podcast. Check it out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And all of these students, I think I've taught all of them at one time or other. So let's go without further ado. All right. So first of all, designing a better world one experience at a time. I'm going to explain a little bit about why that's our catchphrase, why that's our motto. But the main thing I want you to take away is that everything we do with empathy and with heart. So we don't just teach digital design. We teach the design of experiences, whether they're on screen or off screen, whether they're immersive or product design, and everything that we design, we do so with the user in mind at all times. So having said that, why is my thing not working? Okay, so what is user experience design? Have you ever walked into a door? Almost everybody's had this experience where you thought you were supposed to push and it was a pull, or you thought you were supposed to pull and it turns out to be a push. Well, those doors are actually, they have a name. They're called Norman doors. And that name came from Donald Norman, who wrote the landmark book, The Design of Everyday Things, many years ago. He was one of the very first earliest proponents of user experience design. And he explains that, you know, the fact that we run into these doors still is testimony to the fact that the design of them does not signify or how they can be used very well. And it's not just doors. It's software, it's cars, it's services that you have to engage in. Just about any experience you can engage in the world has been designed. And if it's not working for you, it's not your fault. It's not. It's the fault of bad design. And bad design often, not always, but often occurs because your perspective, your needs, the needs of the user, were never taken into consideration in the early stages, pre-design, early generative stages of design, or throughout the design process. So in user experience design, we design services, products, software, websites, you name it, but all with user research that helps us to understand what people need, what their tasks, what do they have to accomplish? How do they need to communicate? How do they communicate best? What are they trying to accomplish in this world with this service, this product, or this piece of software? To do that, and to teach you how to do that, we draw from a number of disciplines, including human-computer and interaction, so that's out of computer science, architecture, graphic design, cognition and psychology, sociology, even writing, the best way to communicate messages. And all of these come together in the design of our program and in the courses that we offer. And that's one of the things that really sets us apart from other kinds of UX design programs or courses that you might have encountered. So for example, we take 4 years so that we can really teach all aspects of UX research, UX strategy, and UX design from this broad interdisciplinary spectrum that isn't just digital. It takes us 4 years to do that. Whereas other places might say you can learn UX design in 1 semester, or even worse, you can learn UX design in a weekend boot camp. Well, I beg to differ. And when you go out into the work world and you try to compete against my students who had 4 years doing this, you're going to have a hard time. So what do our classes actually look like? Well, most of the students in this open house tonight will attest that it looks a lot like this most of the time, but not only. Because as I said, we don't just design for digital, we design for services and we design for products. So we also have students who are working in the Maker Lab to design 3-dimensional products, so actual tangible things. We also have students in immersive design and in interaction design who might be working to design VR and augmented reality kinds of products or services or softwares. So yeah, we also teach we teach usability testing and we teach UX research throughout. So we don't just teach how to interact with human beings at the end of a design when you want to find out if what you designed works. Well, that's not it. If you only test your products or your services or your website at the end, it doesn't really tell you if you designed the right thing. It only tells you if what you designed works. We teach UX research, so site research type methodologies, starting before the design even begins. So you have to learn qualitative and quantitative research methods in order to understand what are people thinking, what are they feeling, what are they trying to do, what's making them upset and frustrated. Who does this? Well, everybody does this. There's not a sector today that isn't using UX design and research. We've worked with everybody on this screen, but we continue to work with more clients every day. Students in our program work with real clients from their very first semester, and the students on this open house on our Zoom tonight have all just wrapped up a Design Thinking 2 course where they worked with clients. I guess our clients from that class, I haven't added them yet, but they did work with real clients on real projects this semester. Why do companies do this? Well, for every $1 that you invest in UX design, you get $100 back in revenue. Those stats, that research is out there. If you want it later, send me an email and I'll send you the citations. 70% of customers who abandon a purchase do so because of bad user design, user experience design. And investing in UX design, companies do that at the project concept phase, the early stage. It reduces your production cycles by up to 50%. So it makes sense money-wise to be able to use UX design in your business or in your service. So I have Health Canada here and Ontario. We've got students right now who are actually working on their co-ops with the Ontario Digital Services. So it's throughout government, education, industry, all industries. There's not a sector you can imagine that you wouldn't be able to get a job working in UX design, which is super nice because you might have a particular area that you're really interested in. Okay, that's enough for me. I would like to ask these wonderful students if they might give you some tips or just a few words on what to expect in your first year, in your first classes. And maybe, since I've got your names here, if you want to just go in order, or if that's too weird, you could just jump in at any time. But I'm going to mute myself and let you guys tell the students who are here tonight and their parents, if there are any, kind of what the real deal is from your affected. And I did not pay these students to do this. All right, I'm going to mute.
Okay, I guess I can start. My name is Vishal. I'm a second year student, just like I think everyone, all the other students here. I'm a former BTM student, and I transferred over 2 years ago. So yeah, second year. What I can say about the course, honestly, is that it's one of the most fun experiences that I've had in schooling. Like it feels like, honestly, it feels like we're like kind of like a family. All the students, the professors are awesome. Like you're gonna meet a bunch of awesome professors. They're gonna teach you a lot. Like it seems overwhelming when you watch the presentation maybe, but when you get into the classes and you actually start doing the work, it's actually really fun.
Hi everybody, I'm Mimi. Just like Vishal, I am sort of a transfer student as well. I went to Fanshawe for a couple of years for business, but I didn't find myself really happy with my studies. So I heard about user experience and decided why not, kind of a spontaneous decision of mine. But my first UX class was with Abby in our design thinking course, and right from the jump, it was super fun. Got to meet a bunch of new people who were on the same boat as I was, and we got our first client, and even with that, it was super fun. I had such a great experience. And like Vishal said, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but with all of your other colleagues, we make it a family and everybody's super connected, and always try to help each other out. It's never, oh, I have to be better than this person or this group. It's always, we are here together to be successful together.
Hi, I'm Nafisa Tasnuva, and like adding to what Mimi said, honestly, it's a really tight-knit community, and the professors, it's really easy to keep a really personal relationship with your professors. You can just pop into their office hours anytime, and they're very understanding and accommodating. I'm actually an international student, and I've had to run into, sometimes here and there time zones don't work out and you have to reach out to your profs to find something that works out. But you don't really ever have to worry that they're not gonna say no to what you request for. They're very understanding, and I've had such a great experience in the whole major itself. And the course itself is so engaging, you just never get bored. Any homework, any assignments you get, like it's just impossible to get bored with it because you're constantly engaged, and it just challenges your thinking, and just you really find that you somehow like get to like beyond your capabilities. Like it's surprising, you get a lot, you stumble upon a lot of those moments. So yeah, like overall it's just a super cool major to just join, and we'd love to have you.
Adding on to what Nafisa said, I'm Chantal, by the way. Hi. Basically, all the work that you do, since it like a lot of it is with real clients and everything, it's just so rewarding on top of being fun because you're actually helping people with almost all the projects you do. They might go out in the real world, and that just the feeling of like working with people that you're close with and being part of a community that actually helps people is like such a big plus with this program.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I just want to add to that and say, don't be afraid to fail either, because I find that that's where you learn the most is in your failures. And just from personal experience, being in at the end of year 2, I think I'm a way better designer because of those failures.
And just quickly jumping onto that, I'm Hannah, by the way. The community here is very supportive. Like we're very close knit. And as Abby mentioned before, everyone here is part of the Decode podcast. We were able to find something we were passionate about and come together. And we were complete strangers before we entered this program. So something really nice about this major is that you will find a really good, strong community here.
Hey, I'm Simrit. I think the best part of this program is not just all the people, because we've met all these amazing people, but I really like how hands-on the program was right from the start. like how Abby mentioned, our design thinking 1 class, we jumped right into projects and client work. Like you start learning right off the bat, which is really good for building your portfolio and having tangible experience, because in all of your classes, you have things you can add to your portfolio, which is so important for being in design. So yeah.
Thanks, guys. Actually, that's I'm glad you mentioned portfolio, because we do start students learning their, what goes into a portfolio, and then we start them building their portfolio from the very first semester, from the very first day, and then we have portfolio reviews every year. So we actually have industry professionals come into the program, and students sign up for portfolio reviews. And so you actually get real industry professionals, not academics, but real people out there saying, well, I'm at Google, and this is what we're looking for in a portfolio if we hire you at Google. Oh, there's a question. Hi, how much help is there to get co-op, and how do you compare this program with U Waterloo? Those are great questions. So I'll talk about co-op first. Our co-op is a little different from others, and we built our co-op based on feedback that we had from actual UX employers. So you go through 3 full years in our program before you do co-op, and then our co-op is 12 months to 16 months before you then come back and you finish off your final year with the capstone. Co-op is competitive. We ask students to submit their resume and their portfolio. They also go through an interview process. All of that happens through the co-op office. All of our students get jobs. We haven't had any problems getting students employed in co-op so far, knock wood. They're employed in a wide range of industries doing real UX and UX research. We have people at RBC and Deloitte and IBM and Ontario Digital Services and Shopify. So it's broad, super broad. I will tell you, one of our students who is finishing up his co-op I guess he finishes in August. That would be a 16-month co-op. Anyway, I don't know why we even call it a co-op that he's doing anymore, because he's already been offered a full-time permanent job. Another student, I think, was offered a full-time permanent job with a company that he co-opted for, but he decided not to do it. I won't name names. So those are very successful, but not all students choose to go into co-op. Some of them already have jobs lined up before they finish school, and so they just want to barrel through and get done. So I've got a couple of students who are just finished their 4th year capstone, and they're graduating, and they already have jobs, and they have those jobs lined up. One's in Romania, actually, which is kind of interesting. So I'm hoping that when COVID goes away, we can all visit. So that's co-op. So co-op is, that's what we do in co-op. So how do we compare with U Waterloo? When you say U Waterloo, I'm assuming you mean the GBDS program. Is that right, Hanya? Yeah, okay. So their program, although it's branded as a UX degree, it's actually it's more of a business degree with some UX courses embedded in it, which I think is fine, super. I'm not dissing that program whatsoever. I've got a lot of good friends who teach in that program. However, because our focus is all UX all the time, you have 4 full years where you're doing 3 semesters of graphic design, which they don't do, and 3 semesters of sort of programming courses, which they don't do, and 1 semester in sort of psych research methods, which they don't do, and 2 semesters of design thinking, where they have 1, and 2 semesters of human-computer interaction, or what we call interaction design, which they don't have room for either. So it's really more of a matter of, if you just want to focus on UX in this sort of just this one like business orientation, we have those courses too. We have UX strategy, but we don't, we have more room to do more with UX and to be broader about UX. For example, Maker Lab is 3-dimensional. It's not really digital unless you want to add some Arduino onto whatever it is that you're, building, right? So, it's just the luxury of having 4 full years of being just focused on UX in all of its breadth. Madison says, I'm planning on doing the BBA program at Laurier in Waterloo with a minor in UX design. Great. Do you have any information or tips for you taking UX design as a minor? That's really good, Madison. So congratulations, by the way, on getting into the BBA program. I understand it's extremely competitive, so good for you. We have a number of, in fact, I think we have about the same number of students in the minor as we do in the major now. The minor is only 6 courses, and it's none of the really fun ones. I'm sorry. I have to hold something back for the UX majors, right? So you don't, in the minor, you won't be taking graphic design. You won't be taking Maker Lab. You'll only get 1 interaction design course. You'll only get 1 design thinking course. You won't have, let me think. You do get immersive, and you do get, oh, you don't get EDI design. That's inclusive design. What else do you not get? I'm trying to think of some of the other things. Anyway, it's light. It's not as many courses. It's still more courses though than you would get at GBDA. So at U Waterloo. So, you know, if businesses, if you really want to do a BBA and just sort of hedge your bets with UX, I think that's a good program. Jenny, what are some specific projects and assignments that students work on? Do you want one of the students? Let's let a student answer that. Let's talk about some, you know what, guys, you just finished your Design Thinking 2 project. Why don't you, you know, shout out about that?
So we actually got to work with UNICEF, which is really, really big deal. And we got to work with a lot of their frameworks. And we also, we were given these vague, basically they gave us like objectives, and based on objectives, we'd have to conduct research and then try to find the best possible design to fulfill those. And it was a really awesome experience. And like, honestly, like just being able to work with UNICEF was a pretty sweet deal. And there was also another company, I believe, that came, that was a client to our class. It was called the 2 Igloos, where we helped them develop or basically branch out on how to pivot their original idea to fit a more COVID circumstantial in a COVID world, because they had initially they had a food and a restaurant sort of event type of app. And, you know, that like that whole thing, it was really cool. And we also get to, a lot of the times we get the opportunities to participate in hackathons. That's like sponsored and partnered by Scotia Bank. So that's also another like plus point, which is just super awesome. And I'm sure they're like
prizes. Cash prizes. Yeah.
Not to mention the best part, cash prizes. And, you know, like Abby said, she definitely did not pay us to be here, but boy, does it pay to be a UX design student.
Did that answer specific projects or assignments, or do you want more? That's Jenny. Oh, Jenny. Okay. Well, Jenny, if you're just being shy, and if you or if you think of something later, you know, you can always just direct message me or send me an email, and or any of these students, you can find them all over social media. So that's another possibility. I'd like to know how much. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to add to what Nafisa was saying. Another thing with the assignments is that even in beyond design thinking, like the big stuff we do, even in graphic design or web design, a lot of the assignments we do are really, really personalized. And so it feels like it's something truly like unique to you. And it's really, really, it's going to allow you to spread your creativity a lot, which is probably the best part, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think too, the thing that impresses me about, well, like I got to sit in on all of your work the other night when your professor had me come in and judge the final projects in Design Thinking 2. And I was super impressed with the amount of user research that you all had been able to do in spite of it being, COVID lockdown, and, how you found, people to interview and do your focus groups and your usability testing. I was really super impressed. So good job there. There's another question. How much of the work and projects in the UX program are digital versus physical? It's hard to predict that, Maya, because in classes where we work with clients, and that's for sure Design Thinking 1, Design Thinking 2, and the capstone always work with clients. Some of the other classes sometimes work with clients. So they've had them in design of equity, diversity, and inclusion. They've had them in Maker Lab. They've had them. Did Richard Hildred have a real client this semester? Are you guys taking his course?
He did. We're actually working with the Kitchener's suicide hotline prevention, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I thought he said he was going to bring that client in, so I'm glad he is. But the answer, Maya, or Mia, sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. The answer is that it depends on the user. And a lot of times a client comes into our program, comes to me and says, yeah, I'd like to have students make me a website or build me some software. I need an app for X. And I say, whoa. Let's just step back for a second. What's the problem you're trying to solve? Who are the people that are going to be impacted by this? Well, maybe a website or an app or a digital solution is the right answer, but maybe it's not. Maybe the problem is, completely about the way your process is working. Like if it's a service, maybe you have to change some other aspect of what you're doing. And technology is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big techno lover, but it's not always the solution. And we have to really teach students, don't jump to a tech solution. In fact, don't jump to any solution at all at first. You've got to go through a process of really doing the research, which is painful, but it's important. It's what makes the difference between UX design and other kinds of design. If you're coming to this program because you love graphic design and you hate math and programming, I just want to reassure you right now. It's not hard, the little bit of programming and 3 courses that you're going to do. Well, I should probably let the students. Do I have any students on tonight who really had anxiety about taking their web design courses? And if so, could you share?
I guess I could talk for a sec about that. I had 0 coding experience at all, like programming. I've never opened a program to program or anything like that. And coming into like the web design classes and everything, they do start from like the very bottom. Like they assume that no one really knows any programming. And if you do, then that's just a little boost. You're kind of ahead a little bit, but they do really help you even if you know nothing about it. So it's, even though it might be a little worrying, it's honestly no problem at all because they do help you learn from the very bottom.
Just adding on to that, when in high school, I absolutely stayed away from coding, and I hated math. Math was just not my subject. But when I first started web design, I was a little worried, but the professor would offer a lot of support one-on-one. So if you reach out to the professor, he will talk to you in office hours and help you find a solution and work you through the project. And especially with the way things have been adapted to online, even in person. But online, he has videos that you can watch back, and he's willing to go over course content with you. So even if you're starting from the beginning, or if you just don't like coding, you'll still be okay because you still have that support.
And we've never had anyone not make it through.
That's for sure. I'd like to add to what Hannah said. Any question you ask, even no how little, he are always ready to help you through. And there's never a dumb question. There's never a silly question out, because all the professors, they understand that we're just starting out, we've just hashed from those little so like never be afraid to reach out for any extra help or drop by their office hours. They'll 100% like get you through. So like yeah, it's definitely like you do not have to worry at all about programming.
And the opposite's true too. If you're one of those people who say, I loved my programming courses, technology is my thing, it's my jam, I love making little apps and I love making games and all of that. Oh, please, 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 please don't ask me to talk to people or interview them. And don't ask me to make art, and I can't do graphic design. I'm not sure that anybody who's in the group tonight fits that, but for sure Sid, if you guys know Sid, right? That was him in first year. He was like, oh, please, I can't do graphic design. I can't draw a straight line. Don't ask me to do it. And now he's quite good. So we're used to taking people into the program, and we're happy. Like we get excited when we have people come into the program from a really diverse bunch of backgrounds with a lot of different interests. People come in because they love their media courses, they liked making films or videos, or they liked creative writing, and they kind of saw that they could do web stuff, and that was kind of like creative writing. But there's like people come in for a lot of different reasons, and that's all good. If you remember the slide I showed with all of the different disciplines all coming together and that we pull from in UX, that's why we seek out students like you who come from here and here and here and here. The best way to design for a broad range of humans is to make sure that your designers come from a broad range of humanity. Oh, there was more questions. Somebody asked about the Mac a couple of times, so I just want to be really clear. Yes, you need a Mac. I don't care if it's a laptop, I don't care if it's a desktop, but you need a Mac. Our computer lab, once we get back on campus, it's open to you and you alone for 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week. You have a little card, you wave it across, you get in, which is unlike a lot of other programs and students in a lot of other degree programs. You have access to your labs, to the Maker Lab, to the studio space, to the computer lab. Once we're back on campus, you have access 24/7, and the students sometimes use it for work, and sometimes they use it for fun, like watching movies. I don't want to know, but the fact is, all the computers in our lab are Macs. Macs are really the thing in UX design. So you can buy one through the bookstore and get student discounts. So definitely talk to me about that if you need more information about how to get a less expensive Mac. I know that they're not the cheapest computer in the world. Okay. What kinds of jobs do students typically go into after completing this program? Well, we have our first cohort of students graduating. Oh my God, is it 2 weeks? Victoria, is it 2 weeks?
Give or take, yep.
Oh my God, oh my God. I'm gonna cry. I've known those students since they started. So some of them already have jobs, but not all of them. I will be working diligently with every one of them to ensure that if they want my help getting a job, they can. But I will say that I have 2 students in the first cohort who are already employed, and I have 2 students who want to go to grad school. So I've written letters for them to get into grad school. And grad school's that's a legitimate thing to do as well. So we have already seen that there are a lot of master's degree programs across Canada and also in the US that are keen to accept our students. They have, I contacted them and they said, yes, send us your great students and we'll consider them. So that might be in your future too. But in terms of UX jobs, this is from Madison. Hi again, Madison. If you have some time tonight or over the rest of the next few days, if you will do a little Google, do UX jobs, just type it in. Indeed will pop up. Some of the other job sites will pop up, and you will find that there are lots and lots of jobs, and they pay pretty well, even at the beginner sort of no experience, just coming in stage. I actually think that I'm seeing more jobs in UX than I did a few years ago. And I think that the pandemic has played a big role in that. I think a lot of organizations that offered non-digital products and services suddenly found themselves in a place where they had to figure out really quickly how to offer their services and their products digitally. So yeah, I would say the digital side of UX has grown by leaps and bounds. We know that UX, as I said, is in every industry. I mean, even Disney, for goodness sakes. Disney World, if you think about what should be a recipe for disaster, there you are in Florida, it's hot, it's muggy, there's mosquitoes, there's screaming children who are having tantrums and breakdowns because they haven't had their nap. There are long lines and you can't really do anything about it. But it's the happiest place on earth. And people who go there go back again and again. They have an enormous number of people who go back year after year after year, even though it's quite pricey. And a big reason for that is that for over 20 years, really, they've spent time and effort and money on actually designing every single touch point, from the time you're searching for your tickets and booking it online or over the phone, to the moment that you arrive at a parking lot that's up like miles away from the actual gate and have to be shuttled in. Every touch point's been designed to decrease the pain, because they can't do away with some of the pain, and to heighten the excitement and the love. So Madison, all I can say is our students are just now going into their first jobs. Our students who are in co-op have been in there for a year, starting May, I guess. And they're in a wide range of companies. Like I said, Google and Shopify and RBC and Ontario Digital Services and Deloitte. I wish I could remember every single one of them. I have a list somewhere. But those are the kinds of places that we are in right now. Okay, sorry. Jenny, I'm assuming that most, if not all, the projects and assignments are group work, right? Also, what's the average class size? Well, Jenny, that's a good point. We hadn't really processed that there was so much group work until capstone this year, when I looked at a bunch of portfolios and realized that so many of the projects were group. So I've actually asked faculty to work with me on balancing that out a little bit more, so that there can be a nice mix of both independent and group projects. But a lot of the projects, particularly ones with clients, I would say all of the ones we do with clients, we're doing in groups. And we're doing that because a group can go farther faster with a client. And that also makes it so that every student in the group doesn't have to work quite so hard. Even so, as these poor, very tired looking students, as I see them, they all look so tired. They'll probably attest that even in a group, it's still a lot of work at the end. So it's good that they're groups. So having said that, how big are classes? Our design studio can only hold, I think the max it can hold is 40, but we typically will break that into 2 sections of 20 each-ish, or 25 each. We try to keep the class sizes about that for anything that you're going to be doing project work in. If we are back on campus in the fall, and we're all hoping that that's the case, that may have to be cut in half again, right? So we may have to break it down to where we only have 10 students in the design studio. And the Maker Lab is even tinier. So right now I'd say you could probably get, I don't know, do you think you could get 5 students and 10 students in the Maker Lab? I don't know. I think we're going to have to look at how many. We may only be able to have 1 or 2 students in the Maker Lab at a time if we're under health restrictions. So Jenny, the answer is, in general, we try to keep the class sizes around 30. Sometimes they're going to be 40. Now that's classes in UX. So we don't do big lecture hall kinds of classes much in UX, because that's not really our topic. the two exclusions on that are designing for equity, diversity, and inclusion, and our special topics course, because both of those courses are open to students on either campus in any program as just a broad elective. So we typically focus those courses in more of a lecture independent student kind of way. So those can be larger. I think though they haven't gone that big. I don't think we've seen 60 in there. So I hope that answered that question. Mostly project-based, less tests and exams. That would be correct. We are not a big test and exam kind of place. Quizzes have a role. You guys want to talk about Bill Bowman's class? Because I know he has you guys do some kind of weekly check-in in there.
Yeah, I could talk about it.
Yeah.
So Bill is our graphic design professor. Each week we do graphic design workshops, and he's very accommodating as well. And he's really organized, and he's a really fun person to talk to as well. And he's really funny. And I remember in our first graphic class, I believe we had one quiz and one test, but they were pretty easy. All you have to do is pay attention and then you'll fly by. Same with his other graphic courses as well. We're currently in our third graphic design course, I believe. And because it's remote, we're just building one poster that he gave us all semester to do. But like each week he teaches you the basics of Photoshop and Illustrator and so on. So more project-based, less tests and exams, which is honestly the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, just adding to that, it's super hands-on in Bill's class. Like you learn stuff right away, and he organizes his screencasts in the most amazing way. So if you're ever confused, half the time you don't even need to ask him because you can just go check the screencasts and have your videos answered. But yeah, Bill's class is good. It's very foundational too, so you learn, and as you go, like you get more complex skills, but you have a strong foundation to build on.
Adding to that, yeah, most of the classes are project-based, and even for the courses that do have quizzes, it's very minimal, and it's really easy if you just pay attention and do your part in working hard for the class. And you know, and a lot of the times the professors try to make it really fun for you, like how with Bill, he had a revision week, and basically it was a Kahoot game. And usually he says that if it were in person, he'd make it a pizza party and then we'd all play Kahoot. But either way, it was still pretty fun, even without the pizza party. So yeah, you don't really have to worry too much. Like the testing part is not daunting. It's not very daunting at all.
I should point out though that, you know, as a university student, you will be taking courses outside of UX. You have a number of electives that you'll be taking as well. And those electives, you can take them in just about anything you want. Some of our students use their electives to minor in something like business technology management, or psychology, or leadership, or indigenous studies, whatever you want. If there's a minor or a specialization, like I think game design is a specialization that you can add on to your degree. If you want to use your electives in that way, it's fine. But when you're taking those courses outside of UX, you might find yourself in classrooms that have 100 students. So I'm thinking the BF courses probably have 100 students or more. And some of the psych courses do as well. So just be aware that everything I've been saying about class size and about projects versus exams, that's just the UX things. Yeah.
I would like to add on. So I've taken BF courses and psych courses, and those are very heavy readings and writings. So whenever I'm doing those, I get excited to move on to my UX portion because I know I'm just going to be designing and connecting with my team members and also users as well. So honestly, not a lot of writing for UX, probably a few reflections here and there, but they're super accommodating and really fun as well.
Wonderful. So thank you all for all of your information so far. I have one last question that I want to ask you, barring any more in the chat. And I want an answer from every single one of you. So maybe I'll call you out and you can provide your answer. And Abby, that includes you too. I want to hear what your favorite experience in the user experience design program has been thus far. If you can pinpoint to one, it doesn't need to be in first year, it could be at any point so far, because I know that user experience design is such a unique program with your own spaces, with potential trips that you go on as a cohort. There's lots of different ways you can be involved in the program, and I want to hear what array of stories that you folks have. So Shannon, I'm going to start with you. Sorry, Mimi. I'll go to Shannon first and then we'll loop back. But I do want to hear from all of you.
I think personally, for me, it's always the client experience. I've been in a previous program. We didn't have any of that. And it's a big part of the job, knowing, how to communicate properly and understanding how to navigate when you're not getting what you need from the client. And so that's my answer. For sure.
Mimi, we'll hop to you next.
Hi, so it was just this past week on Monday where we had our big design challenge sponsored by Scotiabank. All of us were in there. Vishal, Simran won first place, Chantal won second place. And throughout the whole time, just seeing everybody present their designs, it was just really nice to see how creative and empathetic everybody can get, even from a remote location. That was definitely a challenge within itself, trying to understand users remotely. But even during the judging panel, when they were deliberating, all of us participants were just in this one big room. And usually during our lectures, our mics are off, our videos are off, we only communicate through the chat. But during this time, everybody's mics and cameras were on and we were just talking. And honestly, I remember last year, I was close to a few people, but this year, it feels like I know a little bit about everyone, a little bit more than usual, which really creates a community. So that was my favorite moment in this program thus far.
Fantastic. Simrat, how about you?
I would have to agree with Mimi. This past Monday was super, super awesome when we were all presenting our projects, seeing each other's work. The program itself is great, but when you have the people like we have here and you meet all these amazing people, it just makes it 10 times better. Like the energy this Monday was like awesome. Everyone was throwing support at each other. We have a Discord that has our year in it and everyone's like, congratulations, nice job guys, only good vibes and stuff like that. So that's definitely my favorite. Just this past, it was awesome.
Wonderful. Nafisa, how about you?
I would have to say the same. And let me tell you, it's not all the time you get to hear somebody say that they loved their Mondays. So that Monday was actually it was so much fun. But other than that, like I've really enjoyed working with my group mates. The group chemistry was insane for design thinking too. And another thing that I've just really enjoyed about this course is that even out of the academics, I was able to participate in like a podcast that Mimi just, like she was like, hey guys, I want to do something and let's do it right now. And we all just jumped on the wagon and we're like, you know what? Like that'd be really awesome. So like that was the one thing that just really like made my year, to be honest. So it's really fun because you take those things from class and you start to branch it out like outside of it. And you just like, it's like another way and another opportunity to put yourself out there. And, so like that was that, like creating that podcast, which by the way, we talk about all the basics of UX and all the perspectives. If you're completely new to the program or have no idea what it is, we pretty much use everyday language to talk about what UX is. And we have guests on our alternative episodes that also give their perspective on what UX is. So if you guys want to check it out, like you guys can like, you'll find out like everything there is to know about it, and, hopefully it's relatable. This is just basically a casual conversation, but yeah, so like that has been one of my most favorite, parts of, like it's just like the fact that is like it just kind of flourished from like studying in UX, like that was something that I really love. Like that's the part I really love. I'm not sure how to explain it. It's a little abstract, but I love it. Like if you guys can, you know, get the flow of what I mean.
No, that's great. And I'm glad we caught you today after your favorite memories have been so recent. So I'm very thankful for that. Vishal, what can you add?
For me, I think obviously, yeah, this past Monday was awesome. Getting to see everyone's presentations and actually getting to pitch in front of clients. It felt really big, but it was so rewarding. Like once we were done with it. But for me personally, honestly, before I was in the UX program, I rarely ever went to class or didn't really find myself interested, to be honest. But like once I transferred over to UX and last year getting to see the space, I think that's one of my favorite parts of this program is there's so many resources available to us. Even the just the design thinking room, I believe, like it's awesome. Like you walk in there and the vibes are amazing. The Mac lab is great. Like I walked in there and I thought like there's no way that this is available to us, but it is. So that's probably got to be my favorite part.
Awesome. Hannah, how about you?
Similar to what everyone is saying about Monday, that was design thinking too. For me, it would be definitely up there, but also design thinking one. The day I remember I presented the pitch for our client project, and that was just super out of the box for me because I was super introverted and super shy. But the adrenaline rush of putting something out there that we worked on all term and also building friendships throughout that entire term and over that project was just a great experience and memory.
Great. Chantal?
I'm gonna have to say just towards the end of all our projects that we do, just being able to look back and like see the connections you've made with your teammates and all that you've actually made, and just seeing like the support that the entire program gives to you is just, it's such a great feeling to know that everyone's there and everyone's going through the same thing, and just the community vibe is just amazing, and it kind of made me like fall in love with the program even more, just having everyone there.
Fantastic. And oh yeah, go ahead, Mimi.
Just another thing about how much of a community we are. Like we mentioned, we're all a part of the Code podcast, and I've had several people tell me that my part of the audio is lacking. So one of our classmates, he lives in the same city as my brother. So he was like, hey, I could give you my mic until you get your own mic. So I got my brother to go pick it up for me so he could bring it to me. So I'm very, very grateful for that we're able to like help each other grow and have each other's backs as well. And also listen to Deco.
I also wanted to add, like, I remember when Mimi made cupcakes and a couple of students like were like, hey, can I get some? And like Mimi just dropped it off to their place. Like that was just so sweet. Like
such good cupcakes.
If I wasn't located in Dubai right now, I would have asked for a cupcake too.
We're gonna have to find somebody who makes cupcakes in Dubai and have them sent to you.
Great. So yeah, Abby, you can have the last word on this one. What your favorite memory has been over the last 4 or so years at Laurier, and maybe sum up a little bit more about that student experience.
Yeah, so there's a club in Brantford. They changed their name a couple of times, but I have a band, a blues band, and we played at this club in Brantford before the pandemic, clearly. And like a lot of our students, a lot of the year students from a couple of different years came out and kind of packed the club and cheered my band and, you know, like had a good time. And I thought, I don't know, at that moment I felt like I was surrounded by family.
Wonderful. And I think that really speaks to the user experience design program as a whole too, right? When you come in and your cohort It's not too large, it's not too small, but it's just right where you can get to know the folks around you and really make those strong connections. As you can see here, they all have had different experiences, but there's experiences in common that I'm sure they would be sad without having experience together. And I think that's definitely a strength of our program. So if that's all, if no one has anything else to say, that's where we can end off our session tonight. Thank you folks so much for being with us. And I hope that you have learned as much as I have learned, because I definitely learned a lot listening from our students and our faculty tonight. And thank you so much to our panel for bringing your expertise and your stories and sharing with us this evening.
Yay, guys.
For sure. So if you do need to get in contact with us, check out our website, check out our social media pages. You can find ways to contact Abby, our recruitment office, all of the above, wherever you might need. We wish you luck in whatever this next season entails, be it finishing up high school or looking to start university in the fall. And we hope to see you on campus sometime soon. Take care.
Good night.